July 29th. And then flag salute. All rise. John Medicine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Stephanie Jane.
Here.
Thomas Matarazzo. Dr. Matarazzo.
He is on mute, but he is here.
Jonathan Kim.
Yes.
Rebecca Lee.
Here.
John Madison.
Here.
Yoon Min.
Here.
Barnabas Wu. Jeffrey Wu.
Here.
Timothy Yang.
Here.
Dr. Carrillo.
Here.
Mr. Choi.
Here.
So Jason Thomas.
Thomas, here.
I'm here. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Barnabas is not there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, I hereby state that adequate notice of this special meeting has been provided to the public by written notice dated July 22nd, 2020. The meeting notice has been emailed to all staff members at the district's 3 school locations and communicated to at least one of the board's designated newspapers, filed with the Borough Clerk of Palisades Park. I'd like to have a report of the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to share my screen in a few minutes, but I do want to bring you up to speed on a few things that are clearly very, very up to date in the district. We had 2 wonderful graduation ceremonies in the past month. Very happy that the board, the administration, and most importantly, the students and their families could be recognized, especially the graduating class of the junior senior high school on their last days in our schools, although not the way any of us ever intended on seeing them move on to the next chapters of their lives. We were able to recognize them publicly, and I just wanted to publicly thank everyone that took part in that. The next morning, we did the same with our promotional ceremony for the 6th graders of Lindbergh Elementary School. So again, a great night and day. Although extremely hot, I thank the board members that really took part in this. I thank the students and their families. And as that chapter closed on the 2020 school year, clearly much attention has gone into the reopening, the restart of our school year in September. What I do want to do, and again, I will share my screen at this point because other than in new business, myself asking for a submission and resolution to approve the submission of our student safety data to the state of New Jersey, I do want to share what our roadmap looks like. And I thank first and foremost the Restart Committee. That was comprised of administrators, board members, principals, supervisors, parents, health officers, representatives from the mayor's office. Again, this was a all hands on deck. Usually too many people involved in a decision like this does get complicated, but I firmly believe everyone's real, interest came together. Everyone worked together, and hopefully this plan is what is best for the Palisades Park school community. So I'm going to share at this point my screen. Please bear with me. This also will be shared on our website. And again, I know there will be many changes and or questions in the near future, but this is a living document that can be edited really at any time. Sorry about that. Can everyone see this? If anyone just gives me a yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you. So the road to reopening our schools is just an overview of our district schedules in our district. Clearly, we are taking much of our guidance from the Center of Disease Control in what now is the new normal. Physical distancing, wearing of cloth face coverings, hand washing, cleaning of surfaces, and of course, staying at home if one is sick is our principles in developing this program. In addition, we have looked at the American Association of Pediatrics and constantly are updating our plan to stay as closely aligned to these two agencies as possible, and of course, staying in compliance with the New Jersey Department of Education. Many factors were considered, but at the end of the day, the health and safety of our students, faculty, staff, administration is of the utmost importance to us all. So the physical distancing requirements, the school building capacities, and the number of students was the driving premise behind this. I'm also remiss to acknowledge that the PPEA co-presidents served on the Restart Committee, and I thank them for that. Clearly, masks are required when we are indoors. Masks will be required when a minimum of 6 feet cannot be reasonably maintained. And face shields have been requested and purchased for many of our related service providers and students if and when necessary. These are compliance concerns that are, of course, being driven by the Department of Education. We must meet for 180 instructional days. As of last Friday, we have seen that this is, again, many moving parts. Remote instruction is now permissible for any students. Synchronous schedules will be our driving premise here. We do want there to be some synchronous educational component delivered. We were clearly hoping for a fully in-person, although unrealistic, program. And the unrealistic part is not sarcastic. It is because the classrooms cannot accommodate for full classes of children and 6 feet of distancing. So the committee has decided that a hybrid approach, we looked at a daily and a weekly schedule, but ultimately we came up with an alternating hybrid that we will share with you momentarily. There are priorities being made for some students that will be given more in-person instruction. We also have other students who are seeking fully remote programs, and considerations will be made on a case-by-case basis, of course, with parental input. Our instructional time. The school day, as we all know, cannot consist of less than 4 hours. Clearly, we are looking at our instructional time as something that is critically important, and in the roadback manual provided by the Department of Education, we have seen that teachers and students engaged in standards-based learning under the guidance of a teacher is instructional time. The ability to be creative, to think creative, and to meet the requirements count towards our many, many hours of so many teachers and students beyond the normal school day. We are considering the use of many educational service personnel, many paraprofessionals, and student teachers if and when necessary to potentially accommodate for any staff concerns that are within the Department of Labor guidelines. We looked at 3 student cohorts. And again, let's not get caught up on the colors. This was just for the presentation purposes. But if we are looking at a blue group and an orange group, we are looking at dividing our student population in each of our 3 schools in half. When you divide the number of students in half, we do comply with the 6 feet of social distancing. Clearly, the health and safety of sanitizing each and all of our buildings is paramount. And when, as per the John Hopkins study,
I put blush on my lips.
can someone please mute their computer? The John Hopkins study also speaks to less student interaction of changed cohorts. So what we thought, instead of A, B, and a continuum of that, we wanted there to be some continuity if and when contact tracing came into play.
See?
Guys, can you please mute your computer? The virtual group Any students whose parents elect for solely virtual instruction are now permitted to have that as well. Here is very likely our preferred option in moving forward. Week 1 of school, there will be a constant Monday and Tuesday blue group who will be in the building. The orange group on Monday and Tuesday will receive instruction virtually. On Thursday and Friday, we are flip-flopping the orange and the blue. On Wednesday, all students will receive remote instruction virtually. For week 2, we are trying to be consistent for parents, guardians, and students to know that to limit the confusion, on Mondays and Tuesdays again, there will be blue in school, orange virtual on Monday and Tuesday. And Thursday and Friday, again, we flip it, orange comes in, blue stays home to work virtually. They must be working virtually to receive days of instruction to count towards attendance. Wednesdays, clearly the health and safety, we talked about the cleaning and the sanitizing, the ventilation of our buildings. In the mornings, everyone, every student will be able to work amongst all of their peers, not just their cohort. So a class that was divided in half on Wednesday allows for all students in a class to gather, although virtually, together. In the afternoon hours, much of our teletherapy sessions will be offered to many of the special education students to remain in compliance as per IEPs, an opportunity to provide ongoing professional development and update as we are continuing to do on a daily basis. Our professional learning communities will have an opportunity to come together. Our department and staff meetings will have the opportunity to work together. And ultimately, many of our meetings with parents will be able to happen on our Wednesdays. For the cohorts, and I touched on this, but I do believe, and the asterisk piece here where it says social peer group interaction is legally mandated through our IEPs. IEPs are not obviously offered to all children, but I firmly believe a class of students that may have consisted of 25 in our hybrid would not allow for all 25 to come together without the Wednesday all remote day. And I firmly believe for social interaction of all children, I think the Wednesday virtual day is imperative moving forward. I'm going to skip the next slide as this was part of our restart slide. But here is a sample that very likely will be in place for the Early Childhood Center. I also want to be very clear in saying that every day will be a half-day schedule. Every child will have the opportunity for breakfast and lunch provided via Pomptonian. Unfortunately, they will not be eating lunch in our school buildings. It will be a grab and go, very similar to what we offered from the months of March through June. But as you can see, the bell schedules have been altered to accommodate for a little bit longer school day. On the right, you can see that students will enter through multiple entrance points around the building to minimize interaction and promote social distancing. Teachers and staff will utilize physical spacing methods upon student arrival. Students will remain in one classroom throughout the school day. Many of the specials, as we know at the Early Childhood Center, traveled to different locations. At this point, we are going to keep the children in one classroom for the duration of the day. We are staggering the arrival and dismissal times to allow for multiple family drop-off times throughout the district, and to keep in mind many siblings also are responsible for dropping off their brothers or sisters. Next is Lindbergh Elementary School. I know Ms. Parados is on this call. If there are any questions, we can remain on it later, but I'm going to take us through it just as I did with the Early Childhood Center. Again, a full schedule of classes will meet, although via half day. Students will enter through multiple entrance points again, for the same reasons that we are speaking to. Minimizing the interaction and promoting social distancing. Upon entrance, students will go directly to their classrooms. Students will also remain in one classroom throughout the day at Lindbergh Elementary Schools. And as mentioned previous, we will stagger the arrival and dismissal times that allow for family drop-offs. At the junior senior high school, although many classes do not consist of grade levels and they are driven by course selections, we did have to accommodate for some changes. This reflects, again, when you have a cohort meeting 2 consecutive days, we will have periods 1A meet on the first day and 5A meet on the second day. We are showing for 10 minutes of passing time to minimize the number of students in the hallway at any given time. We are also going to have directional arrows throughout our school district. We're going to have many new normals as we are all seeing throughout our everyday lives. Again, the school day begins a little bit later than we are accustomed to because we do want to factor in the drop-offs of siblings, but it does extend a little bit later in the afternoon. Period 1A and 5A, as I mentioned, get dropped off, begin a little bit later at the high school, We will continue to have full 55-minute periods, although delivered in a half-day schedule. That is a change. Usually from the high school, we see when we have half days, classes are not meeting for the full time. With this new proposal, the classes will meet for the full instructional period. I spoke to the extended passing time. This also will allow for the cleaning and sanitizing of desks, materials, and equipment that may be shared amongst students. Our hallways and stairways, as I mentioned, will be marked with directional arrows. And lastly, student dismissal times will allow for pickups at both Lindbergh or the ECC. A very special thank you for this slideshow goes to Ms. Vivanco, Ms. Bongard, Ms. Parados, Ms. Voorhees, Mr. Spafford, Ms. Halley, Ms. Bellotti, and Ms. Doheny. I am going to stop sharing my screen at this point. I am going to give the meeting back to the board president. And if there are any questions, although I do need a resolution for the submission of our hybrid schedule to the county office, as per the Department of Education guidelines, I will answer those later on before the resolution. Thank you.
And as a board president, my report goes to congratulate all those graduates who had graduated on the field for July 8th and 9th. And also, I also thank all of the stakeholders who participated to make up this plan. And I know that I participated as well, but you guys spent hours to make this great presentation and the plans to come up. And my last concern is to communicate clearly with the parents and students for their full program and schedule. I already spoke to a couple of parents who got extremely confused and they did not understand what the email survey is from, and then they wanted to know more. So I hope that, we're gonna have a great communication plan to relay our plans and ideas for the opening schools clearly with the parents. And I would like to encourage that, and thank you, and thank you all.
Before we continue, excuse me, I apologize. I also I need to mention this because there is a lot of moving parts here. I am going to be publicly announcing some town hall type programs to further share this information with our community. I will have translators available. I am looking to schedule at least 3 evenings when parents hopefully are home, where we can share this information with the community and they can better understand this. As the board president mentioned, we did survey the community in 3 languages to remain in compliance, and much of the statistics that we've received had called for an alternating day schedule with limited interaction. So we definitely took that into account. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And then this time, report of the board authority.
Thank you, Madam President. I have nothing for today. I did originally have scheduled the Teamsters contract to be finalized. However, as the board will recall, we did finalize the MOU in the June meeting. The contract was to be finalized today, but it didn't get back to me from the Teamsters, so I'm just waiting for that. So we'll probably address that at the next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is the time for minute approval. We had a meeting on June 17th and June 30th. So should I do separately? Or? Yes, okay.
I'd like to move on the approval of the minutes on June 17th. Shall we do them separately?
Yes.
Separately.
June 17th, 2020.
I will second that.
All right, who seconded?
Jeffrey Wu.
Any discussions? Roll call, please.
Stephanie Jang,
Yes.
Tom Matarazzo,
Yes.
Jason Kim,
Yes.
Rebecca Lee,
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Yun Lin,
Yes.
Jeffrey Wu,
Yes.
Timothy Yang.
I was absent that day.
7.
Okay, for June 30th,
I move on June 30th.
Second.
Yunmin second.
okay. Roll call, please.
Stephanie Jang,
Yes.
Thomas Matarazzo,
Yes.
Jason Kim,
Yes.
Rebecca Lee,
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Yun Lin,
Yes.
Jeffrey Wu,
Yes.
Timothy Yang.
Yes.
Okay.